Perfect.
Yes.
A very good afternoon to all the ladies and gentlemen, the galaxy of intellectuals, invited guests, teachers, and my dear friends. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for today's guest lecture. I, Sugandha Chaudhary, the Assistant Professor for Law, would like to extend my warm welcome to everyone present here. Now, without taking much of your time, let me invoke the lecture and speaker of this session, Mr. Dr. Arun Mohan sir. He is a senior advocate of long standing who started as a trainee in 1968 and enrolled as a lawyer in 1970. In 1982, at the young age of 33, he was designated the senior advocate. He has practiced in a wide field of litigation, including subjects like partition, succession, specific performance, real estate, and property development. He continued to have a busy practice till 1998, when he shifted his focus to research on finding out the why of court delays and conceiving ways on how to ensure justice delivery to the masses at minimal cost and in minimal time. 1999 onwards, he has devoted most of his time and energy and even resources to it. His main project, Justice, Courts, and Delays, is dedicated to the cause of justice delivery to the masses in the country. Delivery of timely and affordable justice is essential for economic growth and social welfare. Today, we have Dr. Arun Mohan sir as delivering the first guest lecture in our very own School of Law Organized series. The series is with respect to orientation to legal education series. We'll have several other guest lectures in the coming future. Today's lecture will be on how to make the best of your days at the law school. Now I welcome our Dean, Dr. Namita Singh Malik ma'am, to please extend your welcome to the honorable guest speaker. Ma'am?
Yeah, thanks, Sugandha. A very good afternoon to everyone present here and a very warm welcome to our guest speaker for today, Dr. Arun Mohan sir, Justice J.R. Midha sir, advisor and distinguished professor with us, and my faculty colleagues and dear students. It was so nice to hear when Sugandha was briefing, sir, your profile, and it was so good to see that you have been working, especially in the field of research, as to what have been the causes on relating to delay in justice delivery system. And we are very glad, sir, that today you are here and you will be delivering as to on how students can make the best of their days in law school. So this is really a very important area in which if the students have the right direction, and especially at the right point of a time, they can really make a lot of things set for themselves. Because most of us, if we are being guided at the right time, and if they are being mentored at the right time, it really works for them. So, sir, we are very thankful and glad that you are with us today, and you shall be briefing our students on that. And one day again, sir, we would be inviting you to speak on this topic, justice, courts, and delay, because that is something which is very, very fascinating to all the faculty who are dealing with the criminal justice system. So anyway, sir, thank you so much again, and I welcome you. And I would like, without wasting any time, we all are waiting to hear from you. Our students are here of third year, fourth year, and few students of fifth year as well. So, sir, please, over to you, sir. Most welcome, sir. Thank you.
Namaskar to you all. Special namaskars to Justice J.R. Midha, who is going to be, as I know him over the years, an asset to this university and a guiding light to the students, to the law students at this university. My namaskars to the university authorities and to the faculty. And last but not the least, my namaskars to all the students. I always give special namaskars to law students. And of course, today I'm on the web, but if I were live, I often ask, how many of you know the true meaning of the word namaskar? I get all kinds of answers. But here I tell you, the correct meaning of namaskar, which I say to all who are attending today, is I salute the divine which resides in you. Why? Because it is in your hands. The law students of today at whose hands the future of people in India will get their justice. What you learn today in your days at the law school, later as lawyers, then as judicial officers or judges, it will be in your hands to deliver justice to the masses. And that is why my salutations to you, one and all. I begin. Today's, I will have two sessions. The first session will have nothing to do with law, just nothing. It is yes. Now you see on the screen, there is a pie chart. All of you order pizza. A pizza is normally divided into 6 or 8 sectors depending on the size. This one I divide into the sectors as appear on the screen. The lower part with the green touch has nothing to do with law, and this is required by you as individuals, as social skills, and as learning skills. Whatever be the subject, whether it is law, management, medicine, engineering, whatever it be. Or I will put it more generally, to simply walk through the various stages of life, you need these social skills, which are marked. And why I'm giving it as much as 65% is because it is this which will enable you, one, of law and better of law, which is in the 35. If you decide, as a lawyer's argument, I'm putting it, if you decide, all right, I don't want to learn law, learning of this 65 will do you so much good that you will be in a position, give me any field and I'll find myself a way. Just not law only, many, many more fields. So this first part of the session, I will address only nothing to do with law, non-law general. We can take this off the screen. Yes, we can take it off.
Okay, so should I start with the second file?
No, not as yet.
Okay.
Little later, I'll request you. Now, there are several parts. Kindly have it. As a lawyer, which you will be, first look forward to the day 10 years hence, 2031 August 2031. So I believe some of you attending this today are in the first year, some the second, and some even later. But I take a figure 10 years from now. What success will you have that day? When you introspect that day, what have I achieved? What have I learned? What have my colleagues? Why are they doing better and not me? When you ask these questions to yourself 10 years later, but if you started today, you will not have to ask the questions. Others will ask you the question 10 years later. Well, why? What is the secret of your success? And your answer then would be my self-learning, my self-training during my days at the law school. So it is with that goal of year 2031 that I train my thoughts and my address and my appeal to all the participants today. I begin on this score. As you have joined the school, law school, you have all passed out the high school. That is a foregone conclusion. And you are students of a prestigious university So it is also a fact of life that you have all gone to good schools, played in good neighborhood, and hail from a good family. And when I say good, I don't mean economically good. I mean morally, intellectually, and what we say in the true Indian tradition, the sanskars that you have received. Yet, yet, there are many things many of us miss out at the high school. And if we miss those out, very often, unless corrected, we take an approach. "Ki all this I had to learn in school. Ah, you are trying to teach me today. Are you insulting me? I'm already a college student. I don't need to learn anything. I've already learned these subjects in school." My dear young friends, I call you young friends because now you are all in law school. And although some of you will be my grandchildren's age, but still, I look at it in an affectionate way for each one of you. It is the penchant for self-learning that will bring it up. And despite the good for the three, the school, the family, the neighborhood, there will be still many points that you would have missed out and a fair amount you would not realize. When I address students in other states where the students are not from such a fortunate background as you all are, there is a much greater difference that has to be covered up, and covered up now. Delaying it by a year or two will already be too late. And delaying it till you pass out of here, you will only have a degree and not have the real skills required of a lawyer or of a successful person in life. And then if that happens, I will say, I was a failure in my address today. So let us forget this ingrained notion. जो स्कूल में सीखना था सीख लिया, इस उम्र में क्या सीखेंगे? No, that is wrong. Even at my age, every day is a new learning. And effort must be made to learn. And for you at your age and at your situation now, there is so much more to learn. I go first by a more important issue, and then I'll come to some specifics. That is social skills, manners, etiquette, behavior. In our education system, we don't have separate classes for subjects like this. Yet, as a lawyer, as a judicial officer, and hopefully later as a judge, you will need this. But when do you learn this? Now. There are so many of them, these habits, and we have, all of us, even I have some bad habits. Some I have corrected over the years, but some were corrected when I was the same age when I joined the law school. I corrected some. But if they are not corrected, what is your achievement on other fields will be brought down by the lack of correction of this habit. You all know what is a habit. It is not conscious thinking. When, or some almost 60 years back, I started learning how to drive a car, I had to think, all right, if I have to slow down, where do I find the brake? But after a few hundred kilometers of driving, it went into subconscious mind and then into reflex action. You just examine this part of human behavior, human psychology. Where it is conscious thinking, and then it goes into subconscious, and then into reflex action. All these habits that I'm referring, you have to find yourself a mentor in your neighborhood whom you can bank on. Now, let me begin the first habit, which is often wrong. One person is speaking, the other has not finished speaking. And because you have picked up what would be the remaining part of the other speech, you start speaking. This is wrong. To break this habit will take, if any of you have it, and I'll tell you, if one were to go on a ground level survey, 40 to 50% would have this habit. Now, if some of you fall in that category, I would request, please correct it. Let the other person speak. Finish the speak. Give a 2-second gap to understand what the other has spoken. And then another 2-second gap in which you introspect in your mind what you are going to speak in answer or in response, and then speak. This particular habit of waiting, thinking, responding is essential. Then comes voice. Some people are very loud. Some people prefer to talk in whispers. Those who talk loud have to reduce their volume, and those who talk in whispers have to increase. And there also needs to be modulation where you are located, in which circumstance or environment you are speaking, and how you are going about it. There is another part. This is choice of words. So let me come first. This is rate of words per minute. Well, if we were giving a cricket commentary, we would speed up the rate of words per minute depending on how fast the fielder is running to catch the ball. But if we are speaking as law students, lawyers, later judicial officers, we have to have a rate of words per minute with a small pause between sentences, at an appropriate rate, so that it forms a habit for you right from here and now. Not too slow, because if it is too slow, it is boring. I have known lawyers appearing before the courts who speak so fast that the judge has not followed, and out of courtesy, he says, I have followed. And I've also known lawyers on the other end who speak so slow that the judge gets bored, he loses interest, and ultimately the failure is of the lawyer. Who would correct them? I mean, I'm talking of people who are in their 30s and 40s. They should have got this correction when they were the same age as the participants are today. And that would make the difference. Next, there is what we call the polite speech, and there is what we call the rough speech, and there is also the slang, and finally there is the abusive speech. What happens is, in our social circles, we have picked up with the children whom we play at school and the neighborhood or the school children, we pick up this there. So if we have picked up not the right form, to correct that, this is the time and place. I will put it in a slightly lighter vein. There was a client of mine. He was a Nawab from Lucknow, very many years back. He would, if he had to abuse somebody, he would not call names. What he would say is, Hazur se arz karna hai कि आप अव्वल दर्जे के बेवकूफ हैं. Well, that is an extreme example which I don't want you to emulate. But I do say that it has to be respectful, polite speech. And whichever language, English or Hindi, you can have polite English, respectful English, proper English. And you can have similarly respectful, polite, and proper Hindi, where the best example is aap or tu difference. Talking of English, two sentences here, rest I'll go a little later. We have now, with opening up of internet, too much influence of the American English. So just keep a little lookout that you have to maintain what is Indian English based on the British UK English. And on your computers, because what they do, every time you sort of turn it off, it goes automatically default mode US language. Make sure it remains on UK or British India if your computer software supports it. Coming back, how you dress, how you talk, how you welcome people, how you receive, how you respond. The list can be quite endless. Today's time will not permit. But it is time today is sufficient so that you get into learning what is that there is this problem which you need to address and build it up. Habits can take very many forms. You have to make an effort at listening, take a mentor at guiding, and then don't feel disheartened. It may take a month, it will take 2 months, it may take 6 months, but soon you will get over it, i.e., you throw away the bad habits and you pick up the good habits. After habit, we come now to something more on the education and learning related. Now, there are two students. I'll take as a sample. One has got a perfect memory. Whatever the professor in the class has spoken, there is a digital recorder in that person's mind. He is able to record it and replay it wherever. The other student, as a sample, is not blessed with such a memory, but he was blessed with guidance that whatever the professor spoke, he or she has to understand. And at that time itself, put it in his own mind, in his own words and in his own pattern, and try and quietly articulate. So that becomes a base point for further inquisitive mind and self-learning. The creation of the base point is essential. Let me tell you, young friends, 2 years back, I was sponsoring a student doing learning law. And I advised that before you go to the class, please try and spend 10 minutes not talking to your friends, but try and sit on the bench outside the class and figure out what the professor is going to teach that day. And after the class was over, spend 5 minutes to recapitulate what the professor has taught. Not just simply make long notes in the class. The result was that student, by following this pre-class and post-class deliberation within the own mind, was able to achieve much more than what the other students did in that college. What the professor is speaking is the same for everybody. The professor is not discriminating. But what is being absorbed varies from individual to individual. And from that absorbed, How it is further grown into learning and skills, again, depends on individual and individual, but this time it is individual effort which has to be put in. And it is this individual effort which ultimately creates the learner, and the person can come out after 5 years and say, well, my days at the law school have been the best. I've learned so much. Again, this was a habit formation, learning to learn. It means that the inquisitive mind has to be on the move all the time. Few things here when it comes to inquisitive mind. Today, computers, internet have made our life easy in very many ways, but it has also created complications. We have to be aware of that. Let me first put it on the health side. While you are at computers, make sure your screen is at the minimal brightness and at the correct angle, no glare. Second, your sitting posture is essential. Unfortunately, laptops are so popular and the ergonomic keyboard, which is better for the hand, is not there. The only thing you can do is learn a small yoga exercise so that after a session at the computer, don't miss out on this. And also on your neck, hold it as a yoga exercise, pull back. Otherwise, when you will be my age, I don't want you to be wearing a collar. Habit formation today. We proceed. There are many people who write good English. But good English is not fancy, bombastic English. Good English is that which expresses the thought in the minimal of words, complete in content, and with a design at accuracy in understanding of the listener. If I remember right, from my school days, there was a Doha of Kabir. भाषा क्या है? अभिव्यक्ति है. जो दूसरा नहीं समझे वो आप क्या बोले. अपनी भाषा वो बोलिए जो आप अपने आप को अभिव्यक्त करें और दूसरा उसको सरलता से समझ पाए. So it is, but the quality of English writing. I'm sorry to note today, generally, the teaching in schools has dropped. The learning has dropped. But the few who get their makeup for that now will have not one, not two, but three up on their peers. But when I say English, it is not the language. First is the structuring of the thought. Whenever I write, I always make an outline first, even at this age. And I spend several printouts rewriting the outline because that is the structure. That structure has to be logical. The first 100 words have to convey to the reader what you are going to say in the next 5,000 words. If you can do that, you have learned the skill. If you can't, you have not. I learned these skills in my college days. I was able to have success in life, earn a few extra rupees, and then I could take retirement to serve the society. If I hadn't learned the skills, I wouldn't have earned the extra rupees. I could not have afforded retirement, and I would have been struggling for survival, and more so in COVID times. And I would not have had the pleasure of addressing you students today, as also the many other students and judicial officers in the academies all over the country. So it is self-learning on how to structure. That is the English. Talking of this, if I give you a few thoughts and suggestions, some of you might laugh at me, might, human nature, I will quite accept it. Some might ignore it, and many would take it seriously, but think it over. First, buy yourself a grammar book, English grammar. I will look for a good one and I'll send the name over and you buy that. Keep it on your side along with a simple English dictionary and a legal dictionary. The two are separate. What happens is many times law students run for the legal dictionary. But I would say stick to the plain simple dictionary first and run to the legal dictionary only when you come across a difficult legal term, which may be on a very few occasions. And if you get lost in the legal dictionary, you will get wrong on the basics, habit formation. Then apart from dictionary, there is the English usage, how particular words are phrased and what is the correct user of that. Now, it is one thing if you do it consciously for some time, and after having done it over a number of times, it moves into your subconscious mind. And then you start off with the open dictation, and it is correct. But that correct is achieved only if you have formed this habit, carried it over the years, and then also formed a habit of making an outline which carries the structure. It's like the table of contents of a book. Look at that and think of it. The other part is that a lawyer needs to be familiar with not just law. He needs to be familiar with a wide variety of subjects, a very wide variety. Now, how to be familiar with a wide variety? It's very easy. I just go click into the Wikipedia and I get an answer. But no, you should know what to click for. And for that, again, I have a humble suggestion to the young ones. Go to a school bookstore and make a request, a very funny one, but a practical one. Uncle Ji, I have a younger brother, sister, who's studying in class 9 of the school. Show me books. They say, what subject? नहीं, मुझको सारे सब्जेक्ट की किताबें दिखा दो, साइंस की भी, हिस्ट्री की भी, ज्योग्राफी की भी, स्पोर्ट्स की भी, एग्रीकल्चर की भी, इकोनॉमिक्स की भी, बायोलॉजी की, सबकी दिखा दो, क्लास 8, क्लास 9 की जो किताबें दे दो. So you go to that section, and I must at this stage make a statement out of nostalgia, not knowing that in 2021 I would be addressing the students of Galgotia University. In the Connaught Place, Galgotia's bookstore, in 1961, that is 60 years back, I would be going and looking for books on engineering and science. I did not have the money to buy all dozen that I wanted, but on a few occasions I did pick up one or two. But I still remember reading the names on the spine. And the name on the spine of the book, which I saw there, was enough placement in my mind of a subject of engineering or a subject of economics or whatever it may be. Although I studied law, that time I was in school when I went there. So this is a nostalgia. I said I can't hold myself back from not expressing. Coming back. So all these books for class 8, 9, 10. That's all. Economics you might need, business you might need class 9 or 10. Biology you might need only class 8. Agriculture you might, that all depends. Mathematics you will need class 9. So all these you pick up and you have a mini library of the basic books for class 8, 9, 10, whatever the case may be. Now, I don't say you read it from morning to evening. Make a habit that when you are tired of reading law and you want a change, you pick up one of these books from this mini library of your own, class 9. And you will soon find yourself at least familiar with so many things which a lawyer needs to be familiar with. And then whenever a question comes, because what is law? I mean, if people ask, what is law? I get very funny answers. Oh, law is what is government makes. Law is written in the books. But law is a set of principles for regulating human behavior. It may be statute law that is enacted, or it may be case law, and it may be soft law. But behind all law is human behavior. Now, there is one subject, if I were to say every lawyer must read on, that is human psychology, the basics. When you know the human psychology, you are able to understand a client, you are able to understand how a particular case has come about, how a dispute has arisen. Now, related is behavioral economics. The fundamentals of behavioral economics must be learned by every law student. We proceed further. There are so many skills which are necessary as learning skills. They are all non-law related. I'm not touching law so far. That I'll do after the next session. In these, there is the theory of probabilities. You toss a coin, whether it will be head or tails for the cricket captain to exercise the choice is 50-50. But whether it will rain today, I can see there is 10% probability with the clouds outside my house. But I know there is zero probability of there being a snowfall. So theory of probability, that has to be learned. Then there are scales, flow charting. Scales is, all right, on a 10-point scale, notional numbers. On a 5 on a 10-point scale. Flow charting. Mapping. These are all these basic skills which are not really taught. And they are not required for law. Sorry, they are not law related in that sense, but are very much required for a successful lawyer. And all these skills you have to acquire by yourself as a part of self-learning. I have gone on many skills. There are very many other skills, non-law related, which fall in that 65% category, which I pointed out earlier. There is a skill called learning to learn. Now, learning to learn is for a student. सर भाई क्या सीखा? हमने ये सीखा कि जब प्रोफेसर साहब पढ़ाते हैं हम उसका बेस्ट यूज अपने माइंड में कैसे कर सकते हैं और घर जाके आगे कैसे कर सकते हैं. That is learning to learn. So if this skill along with this as a habit is developed, then you will find that you all students in this university with a nice faculty will have a few occasions. When the class is over, you ask your faculty, sir, please tell us this little thing more that will allow us to look for the rest. That is learning to learn. That skill you have to develop. Any field, whether it is medicine, engineering, economics, commerce, whatever it be, computers, name it, is necessary. Now I come finally to a field which is most important for a lawyer. And I am going to today recommend a book. And that book is not written for lawyers. It is written for class 11 students. Now you will find it once again a little intriguing that I am recommending a class 11 book as a very essential for a lawyer. And that book is, may I request the cover may be shown? Yes, please. Logic. Now this book, Logic, for Standard 11, has been prepared by the Maharashtra government for their schools. It is available freely on the internet. I have in my library some of the finest books on logic ever published. There will be at least about 20 of them, maybe more. But I also say 15 of them even go above my head. But this one, I must compliment those who prepared it, is so well prepared, so well balanced. I would request all the students to keep this by your side as a daily read. If they master this, and it's written very simply and very beautifully, is what I say. And I would request the university, if they can give me the privilege. How many are the students attending today?
Sir, over 200 students plus faculties are present here.
And how many are there in law?
All of them, sir. All the
No,
students.
beyond this, total number in law.
So total, it's
Approximately.
so it's around 700, 800, sir. If
Fair
I'm
enough.
not wrong. Yes.
Why
sir.
I asked is, I would consider it an honor if I can be allowed to present one set of book for each law student in your university.
So that will be great. So kind of you, sir.
No, no, I have not written it. I have only found it as a fine book. And since it is free on the copyright angle, I'll have it printed. And I'll have 700 copies sent to the school as with my blessings. And for the students with a request, please read this on the logic.
Thank you
And
so much, sir. So
that
kind
will-
of you.
That will then give them the fundamentals of learning law. So with this, I had to cut it short. I close the first session. I have 10 minutes break or 9 minutes, and then we join in
Yes, sir.
for the second session, where
Sorry, sir.
I will be doing on the upper part of the pie chart, or the pizza I referred to earlier.
Yes. Start.
Yes.
Participants, please pay attention. We're starting with the second session. Please. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Continue.
You can display that
Yes, sir. I will.
pie chart.
Yes.
Can you increase the size a little so they can read? Yes, a little. Yes, perfect. So we continue. The learning of law, I would segregate over the various topics, as you will see. First is 8 overview of law, where I would accord 8% of your time is energy. Second is learning to learn law. That is different from the earlier learning to learn in general. Then there is knowledge of law. Then principles of evidence and fact analysis. Finally, there is reasoning and argumentation. These are the broader fields where you have to train your effort, your attention for learning. Only then you will make the best out of your days at the law school. Let me add a sentence here on the lighter note. There were 2 students, of course, a generation below me and a generation above you, who went to law school. When they were both asked, how were your days at the law school? Asked by me as part of my research. One said, whatever fun we had to have in the university, we had in the law school days. And it was thoroughly enjoyable. I said, how was the life later? He said, miserable. Then I asked the other, how were your days in the school? He says, well, I tried to strike a balance between having a good time and learning the law. And of course, he was successful. So it is training your thoughts in what you have to learn and how you have to develop your various skills. Some of these you will not find in books. I am always espousing first principles thinking for law. And it is first principles thinking that you have to imbibe as a habit and then learn, through your law school on first principles. Unfortunately, when you hit the net for first principles, you will get a lot of hits, but you will get no clear definition, no clear answer on what is first principles. The why, you will hear a lot about Aristotle, you'll hear about Elon Musk, but ultimately, what are first principles? A first principle is that you have a problem or anything before you, you go back. I call it reverse engineering. You go back to the basic from where it arose. Leave everything aside and apply your mind on first principles and logic. That is why I recommended that book in the last session. And then you think upwards and come to your own conclusion. Now keep this on the side. Now you compare with what others have done, we call it analogical reasoning. You will find by this process of first principles thinking and followed by comparison that there are many things which others had done but did not strike you. So you have to ask yourself, why did they not strike me? Because if you ask yourself, why did they not strike you? You will then train your mind so that at the next occasion and the still next occasion, they will strike you. But at this time, a wonderful thing will happen. A new idea will strike you, which did not strike the others. And that will make your task more efficient and more easy, simple, and efficient and accurate. This is achieved because you have trained yourself in first principles. So a basic approach to all these subjects is first principles thinking. I go one by one. Overview of law. You see, there is so much law. There are about 6,000 central acts, then there are state acts, then there are rules and regulations, then there is case law. Nobody can know every bit of law. But if you have a brief idea of the law, and for that a technique is go to the library at least once a week. Don't read any book, but only look at the titles on the spine of the various books that are stocked in your library. And slowly that picture will sink in your mind and you will have an idea. Yes, there is the law of landlord-tenant, there is the law of motor vehicles, there is the law of labor, there is the law of crime, there is the law of contract, there is the law of this. So if you have that list in your mind and also a brief idea what that law covers. I mean, if a brief idea of what field that law covers will give you a much more solid grounding for your further study, learning, and ultimately achievement. Then, at this stage, please realize in India, we have almost all a statute law. We have very little common law. But unfortunately, America has a lot of common law. That is, the decided cases lay down what is the law. That is why they put up the restatement of law, which is really a collection of common law. Very small parts of our law are common law. Rest is all covered by statute. So if it is statute, unless you know the overview of law, the subject, you cannot reach to the statute. I will slowly tell you about reading a statute. Then we come learning to learn law. Just imagine yourself as a law graduate from this prestigious university. A client comes to you and poses a question on a problem you have never heard of before, you never learned it. And if you say, well, I have never learned this, that will be a straight failure. What is your answer? Your answer is, let me understand the subject. All right, today I have understood the subject. See me tomorrow, and I spend the and I will attend to you and spend the evening learning the law on that subject. So when the next day the client comes, he finds you well versed with that subject. He'll say, well, this young lawyer is a competent person. Yes, engaged as a lawyer. So that is learning to learn law. Then we come knowledge of law. Knowledge of law is not, I again say not, knowing what all law is. It is how to read a law. I'll just put it in a very generalized form. At very many places where I test lawyers in the test during a address, I ask questions on how to read a law. The answer I get is sometimes as funny as say, why? Reading the law is very simple. It is English. I know English very well. I can read law. No, that is wrong. That is a clear sign of failure. Knowledge of law means how you read the law. You pick up the statute, you find out what is the social problem it seeks to remedy or the field it sought to cover and regulate. And then read what is the purpose, statement of objects and reasons, the definition section, the concerned section. And when you reach a concerned section, how to break it into its many elements. Most of our law, I'll say almost all, is written in the form of a syllogism. That is, if the fact is this, that is a generalized fact, and this, or this, or this, then this is the consequence. I would say that the art of reading a statute is perhaps far more important than simply remembering cases which have been decided on the subject. If you read the law correctly, you don't need to cite cases. I have had occasions where the judge was, during course of arguments, sir, read the law in this form with me. And then I said, may I cite some judgments? No, the law is clear. I don't need judgments. And I have also had observed as a part of my research work and interviewed a number of judicial officers sitting and retired for my research work, where a lawyer would come and say, Your Honor, here is the Supreme Court, my case is squarely covered. And the patient judicial officer would say, yes, I will take it. But which is the statute your case is covered by? And of course, what are the basic material facts? Are you carrying the statute? No, Your Honor, today I'm not carrying. Then this intelligent judicial officer, he says, all right, you come tomorrow, read the statute and do me one favor, make 2 extra photocopies of the particular section you are going to rely on, the provision. And when the hearing begins the next day, all right, read section so-and-so, which is the first element, which is the next element. Is it in the alternate or is it conjunctive? Well, if the lawyer is able to answer, he does his job. If he is not able to answer, he does not. That is knowledge of law, which has to be worked out, learned at this stage. Before I come to the next, principles of evidence, let me tell you, young friends, the law learning that you have entered into is 95% fact, 1% law, and 4% application of law to the facts as established. I'll give the details on another occasion because this is a very important skill. Today, I'm just at this inaugural lecture, I'm just listing the various aspects so that you can consider it in the appropriate importance. So, fact. What is a fact? The difference between a material fact and an evidentiary fact. I'll tell you. A material fact is that which according to the statute or principle of law carries a consequence. It fits in with the generalized facts which are stated in the statute. An evidentiary fact is that which proves or disproves by a process of inference drawing and logical reasoning the existence or the non-existence of that fact. How to analyze facts? A very important skill. Attention to it to begin from now. I will give you a small illustration of first principles and theory learning from a totally different field. I'm sure a large number of students who are attending today's inaugural lecture are from in and around Delhi, which is English or Hindi speaking. But there'll be a fair number from other states which have a different language or totally different culture when it comes to music. Do you know how that music is written? Those 5 lines on the top and 5 lines on the bottom, the treble and the bass. And then there are the notes, the full note, the half note. That is how music is written. We call it the staff notation. You get a person who knows how to read and write music. Read is simple, but write is a little difficult. But now computers also listen to music and write it out. That's a technology development. You pick up any regional song and you write the music. Then you let us go to some of those real music learners in Europe, especially Austria, Germany, France, these regions. You give the music, and whether it is a Punjabi song or a Bihari song or a South Indian shlok, simply because it is correctly written and that person knows how to read music, is able to then sing the song or recite the shlok with reasonable accuracy to what a local would have done. That is training in the fundamentals. This illustration I gave, not that any of you are planning to be great musicians, though I wish one or two more would be, but still, that is an analogy to be taken. That if you learn the fundamentals of music, here it is fundamentals of law, it will make all the difference what you come out as learning and what you ultimately achieve in life as a lawyer or judicial officer. The final part is the reasoning and argumentation. They go side by side. Argumentation is not what many people in common parlance think it is. Don't argue with me. It is much more. It is presenting the facts in a logical manner with reasoning in support on why your point of view should be believed by a judge or the other's point of view should not be believed. And there is also argumentation for fact finding, which is the previous item, that yes, for this reason, the material fact must be found to be this and not this. There, the theory of inference drawing, an essential part of the basic skills. What is inference drawing? But I was going through of various universities, the syllabus, the theory of probability, the inference drawing, the logical reasoning, and a couple of other things, despite being so essential, are not really the part of any exam. But it is the self-learning of these maybe Hopefully there can be there's no bar on there being an exam on the side. Because what is the purpose of an exam? Or let me put it another way. From a law university, you can get a first class, first gold medalist degree. But if you can hang it behind your chair in the office, but unless you are able to deliver the goods to the client, you are nobody. So 2031 is where I look, not for your degree in 2025. I look for your success in 2031 as lawyers and some as judicial officers. Today, in today's life, demands much more skill in every field. The field of law is multidisciplinary. That's why in the previous session, I requested that pick up a mini library of school time. Maybe you will also have a little pleasure of nostalgia, picking up class 9 and 10 books and keeping them on your side. Ultimately, the kind of cases which come to you, that basic knowledge, together with knowledge of law, how to read law, how to relate facts to law, what are the principles of evidence? On principles of evidence, I will tell there is a slight problem. Our 1872 Evidence Act is a brilliant piece for its time. But now it needs a little updating. There is a difference between principles of evidence on one hand and the exclusionary rules of evidence on the other. The exclusionary rules of evidence have two rationale behind them. Like I just used the word rationale. At home after today, try and research what is the full meaning of the word rationale. That's the homework may I give you at this inaugural lecture. Now, these principles of evidence are totally separate. They are combined together in one act. But rules are exclusionary for policy reasons, for reasons of convenience, and for reasons of we had that originally the jury system, which is fortunately not here anymore. And because of the jury system, they only wanted the admissible evidence which will not mislead the lay jury. So what you need to learn is principles of evidence as different from the exclusionary rules. And once again, friends, when running through all this internet and other articles that you can easily download, anything coming from the West on evidence, please make sure it is all written with the jury in the mind. And therefore, half of it will be not fit or even misleading for us here. You have to just segregate the principles. For you open any American book, because of the jury, the topic of the weight of evidence is never addressed. Why? That is in the province of the jury. But you see a good judgment by a High Court judge in India or by the Supreme Court, where it discusses evidence, you will find that the weight of evidence is an important part of the ratiocination for judicial fact finding. Only when facts are presented along with reasons, then a judge is persuaded. In fact, judge is persuaded later. You as lawyers have to be persuaded yourself first. Because some lawyer says, I am putting it on again in the lighter vein. हमें कुछ नहीं पता, जो क्लाइंट ने कहा वो सच्चा है. That is not right. Note what the client says. Look for inherent plausibility, inherent probabilities, and what is the evidence in support before you put forward. True, these things you will apply later, but it is my feeling that you need to be familiarized with them. And when you start reading cases or statutes in your class, which will shortly begin, if you have as a background, like, all your smartphones have a background, all kinds of pictures you just load on your smartphones as a background or on your computer screen. If you have these basic principles as a background, and then whatever is being taught in the class, whether it is contract act or let me put it, any act, you read it, you listen to that lecture with that in mind, and you will see that it's a totally different understanding you will achieve because you already have that background. In fact, I go further, as I said, as an experiment I did with a student I was sponsoring, that before you go into the contract act class, turn through what is the purpose of this act, what are the principles of contract. Unfortunately, many of our recent law books, this is another thing I want to sort of advise you, that many of our law books today are more like digest of case law. After stating the statute, discussion on principle is lacking in many of the law books today. And the ones from abroad, apart from being unnecessarily expensive, are also tuned to their country and their judicial system, not what we need for ours. Again, what we need for ours is what matters. Let me take an example. Some years back, I was attending a moot court. I was invited to. And what was the subject? Dispute between A country and B country. Well, I had to keep quiet in the audience. But later I told the university, I said, look here. How many of your students have learned? Let me put it, how much first? How much of India is agriculture? 78%. And how many of your students have learned what is mutation of agricultural land? There was no answer. So the learning, the teaching has all to be tailored what we need for our society and not what may be available on the internet or in the foreign law books for their society. So if I'm not saying don't hit the internet, do. There's a lot to be found. But keep that filter. Create that filter in you. Yes, I have to create this filter. I have to learn on first principles. And I have to learn something on the fundamentals that goes forward. And it is this, when suited more to our conditions and situations, along with the basic theory, that will really make you have the best of your days at the law school. I think I have gone enough, but I would like to leave a few minutes if any student has a question to ask or the faculty has a question to ask, because you see, the faculty knows better than I do. And a question by the faculty will be, students are new this time, a question by the faculty, which I answer, is what I would look for. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your vast knowledge and experience and for valuable suggestions, sir. Now I please open the session for any questions, students, faculties. You can either post your questions in the chat box or you can directly ask sir. Please, you can ask me to unmute. I'll do that. And then, sir, I would just like to extend my sincere thanks, sir, for you being
No,
so
no.
generous.
I
It's
need
wonderful
questions.
to hear from you. And yes, sir, they are just posting, I think.
No, no. Okay. Thanks I don't want from you. Thanks I want from the people to whom your students grow up and give justice. That is
Surely,
what I need.
surely, sir.
For me, those thanks, they carry value. Yes, go on.
I think someone.
Sir, I'm receiving some questions.
Okay, let me put. Why don't
Okay.
you put a question to the some of the students to answer? What are the first principles? Let them attempt.
Pali ma'am is actually being trying to arrange the technical issues. The question that was basically proposed to all of you, the entire SOL students arena, is basically what are the principles of learning of law? Am I right, sir?
What is first principle?
What's the first principle?
First principle.
Good morning. Is there someone who's saying something? I think there's some issues, sir, because of the weather. I think there's poor internet connectivity at students' places as well.
I'll put a question.
Sir, I'll be grateful.
Dr. Arun Mohan, I must compliment you
May I
for
take
giving a
questions?
wonderful
Am I
insight.
audible?
For giving a wonderful insight and such a nice framework. And I'm sure that if all this is implemented, then a person becomes a successful lawyer, not merely graduate or completing law degree. He becomes a complete lawyer. And these are the most essential things. And we have already at Galgotias, we have taken a decision to make this as part of our teaching and curriculum. Now, as you have very nicely given the roadmap, that there has to be a proper communication skills, learning skills, habits. Now, please tell us how do you, what is your view? How should we implement this? Who should train this? These communication skills, these psychological reading of mind, behavior, even using proper words, art of listening, art of speaking. This also requires at the university level. How should we incorporate this and implement it so that each student, even the last bencher, has got the complete. You can say by the time he completes a law degree, he has got all these behavior and habits and communication skills, everything in place.
Yes, Judge. The first is realization amongst the students that this is for their own benefit, looking ahead in the time machine to 2031. Because unless they realize the importance, whatever the university and with your addition, now the university better armed will not be able to achieve, because it is their self-realization. First is they have to introspect what I said. Think. Maybe they'll need to talk to their parents or other mentors. It's not simply कि भाई अरुण जी ने कह दिया तो सच है. No. They have to think over its value for them in longer life over the years. that is once that is completed, which might need further guidance from you. The second part is making these facilities available rather than simply the standard curriculum or the standard exam. And I remember, I don't know whether it is correct or not, but I can only say from memory, because this is 50 years back, this was told to me, that when a person went to do his barristerate law in England, it was not just the exam, it was attending the dinners and the conduct of the person at the dinners, the dressing, the behavior, the talking, which also determined whether he would be pass barristerate law or a failed barristerate law. So university can make all opportunities, which they should, if you were to ask me, but the students have to do it by and large for themselves. Now let me place it. I gave one illustration of class 9 books on logic, which I just said, that I'm going to present for every student. I will have it printed and sent over. Then we come the various other things. The students have to realize the importance and then go it and do it themselves. And if they have a question, they can ask the university. Maybe there is some after all, where they stay over the weekend, there may be some coaching institute or something, not that last 10 years question paper. No, I'm talking of an institute where they can learn all these things, basics. And the rest is, of course, for the university to guide. Whether as a part of the main
university is prepared to engage the experts to give all these skills, inspire all these skills into the students. We have you can say already we have taken a decision that we will put all these skills into the students, and the way you have today so nicely inspired and explained, to my mind, all the students would be ready and willing who want to tomorrow join the profession. But question here is, how do we, since this is not normally, normally in any universities, these are not part of the training. Even this realization is not there. This is a very rare thing. Coming from you, this what you have today given a flow chart and also the framework as to what should be the qualities and essential requirements of becoming a successful lawyer. This is otherwise not here in the public domain. This realization is not there.
Well, let us have it like this. Let the students who have attended today and their peers who have not attended, maybe this is available to them later on the YouTube or something. Let them think over for a day or 2 or 3 what they have to say. And ultimately, I'm saying, they have to want, they have to ask. But the university can only give the basic seed. The rest they have to develop in their own mind and with their own effort. But the opportunity the university must make available in a practical manner. That, of course, I would appeal to the university. And when you are there, then things should not be difficult.
But you have given a very, very nice roadmap. We are really, the university is very grateful.
No gratitude, sir. No gratitude.
The university is very,
I am
very
grateful to the opportunity
It is
that there will be greater justice in the country 10 years later. That is the hope which has attracted me here. And with your presence, I feel more confident. I have nothing more to add.
Thank you.
Sir, now we have several questions.
Please.
Rupali ma'am has compiled. Should we start with the question?
Yes, start.
Okay.
So the first question that we have received is, the student says that we have discussed communication. I wanted to ask you, how much is it permitted for lawyers to express their emotions before the judges while presenting a case?
This question, I would, instead of an inaugural lecture, I would like to answer at a later stage when they are getting ready for their final. But since you have asked, I would still maintain request to answer later. But first, they have to develop the basic skills, because many times emotion has to be have the willpower to hold back. Because if a lawyer allows his presentation to be the court to be colored by emotion or rely on emotion other than material on record, it doesn't really serve the purpose. So to be able to distinguish between the two and keep them separate is also an essential skill, which again forms part of a habit to be developed from now and onwards. And then ultimately, how much emotion to put or not is a later stage skill. Separation from today.
Right.
Next.
So the next question is that research writing is different than normal formal writing. How can we improve our research writing, sir?
You see, there are two parts. A research writing is unfortunately here following a Western pattern. Problem: literature reviewed, discussion, and so said this, so said this, so said that, conclusion. That is not research writing. Research, you see, that was all right as a pattern for 1950, where one had to, with great difficulty, find an article or a book written by somebody. But today in 2021, I sit on my computer, all the books, hundreds of articles are there on my multi-screen computer before me. So what have I to research? Go tick, 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 researched? No. I have to do problem, first principle thinking, plus the social change that has occurred in the last 40 years, that has to be taken into account. So that is research writing. And then I say, yeah, all right, this is what I have done on first principles as my answer in research writing. Now let me compare it to what others wrote. Maybe they wrote better, or maybe, like, I'll tell you very frankly, it's a very, now that Justice Beda is on the screen. These days, I'm writing a research book, not just a paper, a research book. And that title will startle Justice Beda also. The title is, why should our privilege against self-incrimination not be whittled down? Now, if today people will think I'm being quixotic, that I'm running for the windmills unnecessarily. But I said no. For reasons ABC, the privilege against self-incrimination, Article 20, Clause 3, is outdated. It has to be whittled down. I'm not saying abolished. And the main rationale I'll share with you today, publication will come a month or two later. Main rationale is to wherever there is an evidence which can be supported from an independent source and was in existence prior to my arrest, I should not be entitled to privilege. All right. If somebody were to ask a person, did you commit the murder? He can keep quiet. Privilege holds good. But did you have this driving license? Did you have this bank account? Did you have this cell phone? What did you have this? Now, all these are matters of record from a point of time prior to the commission of the offense. Where is the question of privilege? This is only giving a privilege to do wrong in society. Then the evidence has changed. In 1950, it was 99% oral evidence before a criminal court. Today, oral testimony. But today, oral testimony by itself is left in a very little small segment. It is documents, it's records, it's emails, it is called telephone call records, CCTV recordings, and a host of other evidence. Where is the privilege for this? If you ask a person, all right, a question. If that question by itself is not self-incriminating, it can't be privileged. So these are the issues. Now, this is what I call first principles research, where you are willing to take cudgels against ingrained notions.
Very well.
I would like the students to attempt. Never mind. Failure is such an attempt. One should not feel bad. Next time it will be success. But the approach must be, for research paper, first principles. Now I come to legal writing, which is separate. Legal writing is a most accurate, logical description of what stands on record and is to be conveyed to the file or the judge. That is how I will, one sentence I'll cover legal writing. It doesn't, many times I do legal writing. I first prepare 20, 30 pages, then I reduce. Maximum content in minimal of words with the right flow. That is legal writing. Next.
Next question is a very practical question that the student has asked.
Please. I'm
He
happy.
says, sir, as legal professionals, how do we overcome our personal belief while addressing a case? For example, we know that the defendant has committed the offense. How do we still protect him?
Okay. I'll give you an answer, which is my view. There are three types of protections. One is expose infirmities in the prosecution case. Because what is a prosecution case? In one sentence, of course, there are students, so this is slightly more detailed I'm addressing. It is simply that every element of the charge has been proved beyond reasonable doubt. That is, the persuasive force of the prosecution evidence for that particular element overcomes or outweighs the presumption of innocence, which carries a resistive force. I mean, I'm now using plain physics. If the lawyer can show that, yes, this is not sufficient, he must go ahead and protect. But unfortunately today, there are other wrong means. I don't want to speak now. There are other very many wrong means and tactics which have come in vogue to get acquittal for a client. Whether he is guilty or not guilty is for the court to judge. Your skill as a lawyer is within the four corners of law. If prevent the prosecution from proving acquittal. And you will know it very shortly. Many cases are false and many cases are exaggerated. That is a big problem that has occurred in the last 20 years particularly. Exaggerated cases and involving others also, so that they also are involved along with one person is a criminal. The other is also involved for nothing. So there you have to show what is the exculpatory, what is the inculpatory. Yes, next.
Sir, it's already 4:45. We have two more questions. Do you want to entertain them or should we?
No,
Whatever
you
suits
if
you.
you have time, I have time. I'm here on.
So kind of you, sir. Surely,
yes,
sir.
go on.
There's one last more question, sir.
So the next question is, law opens many avenues. How should we be able to determine the best options for us as law students?
I think I answered it in the beginning. May I answer it again? And I'll answer it in Hindi.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, मुझको फंडामेंटल सिखा दो. हाँ, उसके बाद जो एवेन्यू रखो, नो प्रॉब्लम, चलेंगे दौड़ते हुए. फंडामेंटल सिखा दो.
Surely,
Yes,
sir.
next.
Very rightly said, sir. Very rightly said, sir. Sir, once more, I would like to thank you for your generous, very
No,
sincere,
nothing
vast
to
knowledge, sir.
thank.
You were very generous, very kind.
No. My thanks are only the students learning more and doing justice. That is it. And I'll tell you, right next to me are some of my interns, lawyers, young. I tell them, कि बेटा मेरे हाथ से सीखो, खुशी है, लेकिन कभी गलत उपयोग मत करना मेरे सिखाए का. ये मेरा आश्वासन चाहिए. मेरे सिखाए का गलत उपयोग मत करना.
Yes, sir. Very rightly said, sir. बहुत सही. Now I request our very own Justice J.R. Midha sir, the professor, the retired judge of Delhi High Court and the professor and advisor, it's our honor, of Galgotia's University. Sir, I welcome you to please give the vote of thanks.
I
Dr.
don't mind.
Arun Mohan is a great visionary and the only person on this planet who can give such a wonderful insights and the tips for becoming a successful lawyer. And if all these things are implemented by the law students, then on completing the law degree, he can become a successful lawyer immediately, and he doesn't have to wait for 15 or 20 years to become a successful lawyer. So, and I must compliment Dr. Arun Mohan. There were many new things I have also learned today. And more particularly, the meaning of namaskar, which he has explained today. I also used to use this phraseology in my farewell speech. I had used the term that I salute, I bow before the God inside all the listeners. But the namaskar itself means that we salute and bow before the divine inside all of us. And the wonderful chart that Dr. Arun Mohan has shown, which shows that 65% is the field which is beyond the law, is necessary to be understood and to be implemented by the law student to become a successful lawyer. And then even on the 35%, his explanation and his breakup which he has given as to how that 35% also operates, and more particularly the fundamentals of law to be cleared, is very important. In my mind, we have to first, while teaching any subject, we have to first show to the student what was the position when there was no law. Because before every law, a problem arises, and then the society on moral footings takes a decision how to control that problem. Those moral decisions to handle a problem later on become practices, then custom, and then they are implemented and codified as statutory laws. So we have to tell the student what problem arose, how that problem was cured by the law, how that law was then found amended from time to time, and what is the present law. This fundamental should be cleared before we take the student to the statute and then the case law. And if the fundamentals of law is clear, then the student doesn't have to look back at all. Then another very important aspect which Dr. Arun Mohan has explained, and which I entirely agree, is that the difference between a lawyer and a layman is that the lawyer has rational thinking. He has to have a logical and rational thinking. And for that, we have to invoke, and he has given very nice flow chart how we reach to analytical thinking and rational thinking, and only with that rational thinking we'll be able to persuade, as a lawyer, persuade the court, or as a judge to take a decision with that rational thinking. So the Galgotia University is very grateful to Dr. Arun Mohan for this wonderful lecture today, and I am sure the university would implement all these guidelines or roadmap which Dr. Arun Mohan has shown today, and in the next session we'll again call Dr. Arun Mohan, and after we have implemented all these guidelines, to show that this is the first university where we have taken the legal education to a new heights. With this, I thank Dr. Arun Mohan once again. I thank all the participants, all the organizers who have very nicely organized this, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, and we sign off. And thanks to the university once again.
Thank
Bye.
you.